Good evening. Thank you so much for being a part of YALSA's Morris Award presentation. I'm Kelly Zarnicki, President of the Young Adult Library Services Association. We are here this evening to honor our 2022 William C. Morris Award winner and finalists. I would like to take a moment to welcome the award-winning authors who are here with us this evening. We have Morris winner Angeline Boulley and Morris finalist Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé, Margie Fuston, Amber McBride, and Cory Anderson. I am now going to turn the program over to YALSA's William C. Morris Award Chair, Patty Ramirez.
Good evening. YALSA's William C. Morris Award, first awarded in 2009, honors a debut book published by a first-time author writing for teens and celebrating impressive new voices in young adult literature. The award's namesake is William C. Morris, an influential innovator in the publishing world and an advocate for marketing books for children and young adults. Bill Morris left an impressive mark on the field of children's and young adult literature. He was beloved in the publishing field and the library profession for his generosity and marvelous enthusiasm for promoting literature for children and teens. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce my fellow committee members and thank them for their hard work. Kit Ballinger, Rebecca Kaufman, Michelle Chang, Beth Davis, Kara Hunter, Beth Kirchenberg, Ellen Wickham, and Emily Townsend. Our first award of the evening goes to Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé, author of The Ace of Spades, published by Faywell and Friends, an imprint of Macmillan Children's, Publishing Group. I forgot that part. At Nivea's private academy, Devin and Chiamaka are the only Black students, which makes them targets for a series of anonymous texts revealing their secrets to the entire student body. Both students were on track toward valedictorian and bright college futures, but this prank turns quickly into a treacherous game that might be fatal. Please welcome Faridah.
Oh, should I start? Hi, it's Faridah. I just wanted to say it's such an incredible honor being a Morris Award finalist. As someone that is dyslexic and always loved books and loved reading and writing, I never thought I would be able to publish something and for it to be celebrated in such an amazing way. So just thank you so much for that as well. I would like to thank the 2022 Morris Award Committee, the American Library Association, and the Young Adult Library Services Association for considering Ace of Spades. I would also like to thank my agent, Zoe, Molly at the Bent Agency, my editor, Buoyancy, and everyone at Bible and Friends who has championed my book and made it possible for my story to, find readers and just be here doing all these amazing things. And while I hope that Ace of Spades continues to find new readers, I'm aware that there are so many diverse titles that are being banned and so many educators who are losing their jobs. And so I find it so scary seeing this censorship and seeing so many young people lose their ability to see themselves, their lives and their families reflected in the pages of stories. I want Ace of Spades to be able to be read by so many people. And I wrote it when I was 19 with the hope that people like me can not only see themselves, but also know that I see them and in turn hope that they see me too. When we take this away from teens, we're saying that their realities are something that should be hidden away and that their stories do not deserve to be recognized. As the novelist James Baldwin once said, you think your pain and heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read. Ace of Spades is a story about finding light and community in the darkest of places, and having Ace of Spades be recognized is something I'm so grateful for, and I hope that young adults see their stories, their pain, their joy, and see that it matters. And it's just so surreal being a finalist here alongside these amazing authors, Angeline, Margie, Amber, and Cory, and I still can't believe that this has happened, and I'm just so thankful for this honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faridah. Our next award of the evening goes to Margie Fuston, author of Vampires, Hearts, and Other Dead Things, published by Margaret K. McElderry Books, an imprint of Simon & Schuster's Children's Publishing Division. As her father lies gravely ill with pancreatic cancer, Victoria's last desperate hope is to find a vampire in New Orleans, an impossible mission that allows her to process her grief and experience life again. Please welcome Margie.
Thank you. I'm still a bit shocked to be here with these other amazing authors, but I couldn't be more grateful. Despite all the times I've read my own book during the publishing process, I've never been able to read it without tears in my eyes. While I'm not my main character, Victoria, many of the details of what it's like to watch someone you love fade away in front of you, and the emotions that go with that were deeply personal. So seeing it resonate with other people makes me feel like the pain of writing that story was worth it. Thank you to the Young Adult Library Services Association and the Morris Award Committee for this honor. Thank you to the librarians and booksellers and reviewers who helped to get this book to those who need it. It means so much to me. I'd like to thank my agent, Rebecca Podos, who saw the heart of the story immediately and understood exactly what I was trying to do. I'd also like to thank my editor, Sarah McCabe, who loved these characters as much as I did, and the entire Simon & Schuster team. I also don't think this book would be what it is now without the Pitch Wars community and my mentors, Kimberly Gabriel and Don Hughes, who had to tell me every other page of the manuscript that I couldn't just say Victoria had emotions, and I had to actually describe them. And thanks to my friend who hopped on a plane with me to go to New Orleans in search of the plot for this vague idea. I had nothing but a desperate character before that trip. Thank you to New Orleans for becoming the character that was missing in my story. You're my favorite place on earth now. I came home from that trip and wrote the first draft in only a month. It was both the easiest and hardest thing I've ever written. I always knew I would write about cancer one day. Cancer was my first experience with death, and then again, I lost my favorite person in the world to it when I was around Victoria's age. I also always knew I'd write about vampires one day, just because they're awesome. I never thought I'd write about cancer and vampires at the same time, though. But the thing I wanted to capture about cancer was how difficult it is to watch someone die and know you can't save them. How sometimes, instead of acceptance, desperate hope takes over, and that type of hope can make you almost feral as you chase impossible things. Usually those things are a new diet or treatment, but I wanted to push that desperation as far as possible. And what's more improbable than deciding to find a vampire that may or may not exist? I also realized vampires were the perfect metaphor for what it means to be alive versus just existing. I wanted to make something that explored a topic I cared about, something that would hurt, but I also wanted to show the joy that can be felt through the pain too, and how that desperate hope that others may scoff at can carry you through and leave you feeling a little bit of peace at the end. Thank you for seeing that, and thank you again for this honor.
Thank you, Margie, very much. Our next award of the evening goes to Amber McBride, author of Me, Moth, published by Faywell and Friends, an imprint of Macmillan Children's Publishing Group. Aspiring dancer Moth, the Black granddaughter of a hoodoo root worker, and Sonny, a musically talented Navajo boy, embark on a road trip and together face their demons of grief, depression, and memories of the past. Please welcome Amber.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here, and also I'm already getting teary-eyed listening to everyone else talk about their books, so just really, really happy to be here. But anyways, the idea for Me, Moth first took root in 2019 when my grandfather passed away and someone kept leaving coins on his grave. I remembered from stories that I had heard as a child that in hoodoo, you never leave or come to a cemetery empty-handed, and I quickly went down the rabbit hole of research. I never had a name for what I practiced. My mom would call me her little witch, and I was known for being the spiritual one. But when I found out about hoodoo, I had a name for it, an African-American folk magic system born when Africans were stolen from their homelands. I wanted to write a book about loss and life and pain and stories, but mostly about love and how the ones we love never leave us. Our ancestors are always close, and that's why we leave offerings. African, Black, and Indigenous histories are largely skipped over in history classes, or they're only shown as one thing, enslavement or the Trail of Tears. But marginalized people are not their suffering. I wanted everyone to see that in this story. Knowledge is power, and that idea extends to ancestry, history, and traditions. African, Black, and Indigenous people and histories are vast, brilliant, and complex, and I wanted to write a narrative that showed all of that. With that said, I'd like to thank my ancestors who somehow still follow my lifeline so closely. Their legacies inspired this book, and I love them present tense. To my Aunt Debbie, proud member of the Navajo Nation, I am humbled and joyful that our stories can exist on the same page. And I have a special immeasurable thank you to our sensitivity reader for helping to craft Sonny's character. Thanks so much to the Young Adult Library Association and to the judges for picking me off as a Morris Award finalist. I am shocked and honored, especially to be included with so many wonderful books. A big shout out to Fiwell and Friends, and hugs to my editor, Liz Sabla, who understood this story so well from the beginning. She also wrote stat on my draft so many times that I have thought about getting it as a tattoo. Thank you to everyone in marketing at Macmillan, and a special thank you to my agent, Rena Rossner, for telling me to write a novel in verse and for sticking with me for this entire journey. And last, a very special thank you to the rainbow inside the raindrop, to the sound that shadows make on the bare ground, and for the science that gives us all goosebumps at the same time in a song. In short, thank you to love and magic. And last, to my readers and to everyone watching, as Moth says, a gift, an iron to smooth out the wrinkles that pop up in your spirit. Please know that I am always wishing you wellness and joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber, very much. Our next award goes to Cory Anderson, author of What Beauty There Is, published by Roaring Book Press, an imprint of Macmillan Children's Publishing Group. Danger stalks Jack as he attempts to save his brother from foster care and evade his father's old partner, Bartum, looking for his stolen drug money, who holds the brother's fates in his hands. But Bartum's timid daughter, Ava, in this heart-pounding story of survival and sacrifice. Please welcome Cory.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cory, and I am so happy to be here with you tonight. It means the world to me. Thank you for this incredible honor. I want to thank the Young Adult Library Association and the Morris Award Committee. I think that debuting, and especially in this pandemic, I felt kind of like this one pebble or this one grain of sand on a beach. And as a debut author, you wonder if the story will be found by anyone, if there's any chance among all those sands on the beach, if someone might find you and then might like the story enough to pick it up and love it. And more than anything that's happened, this honor has helped me to feel like the story of Jack and Ava and Maddie was found. And I'm getting teary too now, but I want to express my appreciation for that. It means the world to me. Thank you for picking up the book and for giving What Beauty There Is a chance, and for letting Jack and Ava and Maddie into your hearts. I want to say thanks to my agent, Lindsay Auld, who also took a chance and found this book that's a little bit different and not kind of the same as a lot of stories. And she took a chance on it. And I appreciate that more than words can say. And thanks to my editor, Jen Besser at Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, who also just found me and What Beauty There Is, and wrapped us up and showed me how to be a better writer and what I could do in order to take the story to places that I didn't even know that it could go before. Thank you, Jen. And to everyone at Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, I have felt so supported and helped, and it's just been the best experience in the world. I feel like I wondered for a while if readers were really finding what beauty there is. And this honor, it just makes me feel so grateful to know that there's this bridge across the miles where a book can go from me to you. And it's a way that we communicate. And I just am so grateful that the story was found. So thank you to every reader who picked up the book and hopefully who will pick up the book and discover it. I'm really deeply honored and grateful for this. I appreciate the chance to be here with fellow creators who I think the world of. And I don't know that I could have even dreamed of this. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Cory. Our last speaker of this evening, before we go into the Q&A portion, is Morris winner Angeline Boulley, author of Firekeeper's Daughter, published by Henry Holt and Company, an imprint of Macmillan Children's Publishing Group. Donna's, daughter of an Ojibwe father and white mother, feels unsettled between her reservation life and the Upper Peninsula hometown where she was raised. Devastated after witnessing her best friend's murder, former hockey player and aspiring scientist Donis agrees to work undercover in an FBI investigation, tracing a lethal new drug ravaging her community. As unsettling clues come to light about old relationships and a new romance, Donis draws upon her strengths and identity to protect the people she loves. Please welcome Angeline.
Oh, miigwech. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. I come from storytellers. My father is a firekeeper who strikes ceremonial fires in our tribal community. These are special fires that continue for the duration of the medicine ceremony or events like fasting camps or language conferences. While he tends to the fire, he tells stories. I've sat next to him many nights. He says that that's when the really interesting things happen during the night shift. And I continue to learn parts of his life that he's never revealed before. Many readers have asked where the title of my book comes from. I've joked about being a real firekeeper's daughter, but I'm not the original one. In Ojibwe teachings, original man is called Anishinaabe, and he sets out on a journey to the east. He follows a beautiful song he hears each morning at sunrise. When he reaches the eastern horizon, he finds Ishkode Nene Godonison, the daughter of the first firekeeper. Our teachings are sung, prayed, spoken, and written. I am still in glorious shock that my story and our Ojibwe teachings have reached so many young adults and older readers. I want to thank the members of the William C. Morris Award Committee for this incredible honor. Chair Patty Gonzalez Ramirez, Kit Ballinger, Rebecca Kaufman, Michelle Chang, Beth Davis, Kara Hunter, Beth Kirchenberg, and Ellen Wickham. Miigwech, thank you for embracing a story about a biracial, hockey-playing science geek who knows her Ojibwe culture and language and is at her strongest when she claims all facets of her identity. Thank you, especially for understanding the power of a bilingual story that does not include a glossary. Thank you to the 2022 Morris Award finalists, Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé, Margie Fuston, Amber McBride, and Cory Anderson. Thank you for sharing your stories with readers everywhere. Miigwech also to Indigenous storytellers who keep our ancestors and their teachings alive for future generations. My deepest appreciation to my agent, Faye Bender, former agent Tiff Liao, and the stellar team at Holt Books for Young Readers and Macmillan Children's Publishing Group. Miigwech to artist Moses Lunham and narrator Isabella Starr LeBlanc for your visual and audio depictions of Donna Fontaine. And a final big thank you, Chimagwech, to Henry Boulley, my father. I sit beside my father on Sugar Island as he tends to the fire at fasting camp and shares his stories, observations, and advice. He points out purple and blue flames that dance around yellow so hot it becomes white. His pauses are filled with distant sounds, a coyote, an owl, a young man singing to stay awake so the spirits will visit. My father uses a pitchfork to rake coals and turn over disintegrating logs. He stumbles through dark shadows to the wood pile, seeking solid footing on faltering legs. A beautiful and sad shuffle as he adds another layer atop the glowing, crackling base. He talks until the sky lightens. I leave him there with a kiss upon his cheek. Waiting for the ferry, I gaze through heavy eyelids at the horizon where Firekeeper's daughter lifts the sun with her song to sing another day. I know she sings about her father. In one verse, he sits hunched by the fire. In another, he is a boy chasing a coyote. In another, he calls out for guidance. If you listen carefully, you can hear it all. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Angeline. What wonderful words. So we want to thank everyone for your touching words and your wonderful speeches. And we are now going to move into the Q&A portion of the event. So get ready. We will try to get through as many questions as we can in the time remaining. So our first question, and please just jump up and let me know which one of you want to get started, is what do you hope teens take away from your book or your past teen self if you read your book as a teen? Angeline, you want to take a shot at that one?
Sure, I want readers to know that we're still here, living really dynamic lives, contemporary lives, and that we're not relics of the past. That's specifically why I wrote it in first person, present tense point of view, just to drive home that fact. We are here, we act, we love, we feel.
Faridah, what do you think?
I really love, especially Black teens, to just know that, I see them and they're deserving of their stories being told. And that even though the sunken place can be such a lonely place, there are so much things happening that isn't your fault. I think growing up, I always felt like this was all my fault and there wasn't institutions that were powering so much things against me. So I think I just want Black teens to know, teens of color to know that there is so much at play and that they shouldn't feel hopeless.
Thank you so much. Cory, can you answer that same question for us?
Yes, I would love to. I think when I think about who I was writing to, I do think of the younger me, the teenager who was a little bit of an outcast, who was a little bit different and who was sometimes struggling and having a hard time. And I really wrote what beauty there is for that young person who might be struggling or having a hard time to be able to see themselves in a story and to be able to say, yeah, this is hard, but there's still love and tenderness and there's still good. I also think that I didn't know it, but I have loved the opportunity to also share a story that is different and maybe not like what a lot of young people have experienced, so that maybe you and I can see that we're not so different after all. I'm writing about rural teens in, part of Idaho that a lot of people will have never been to, experiencing circumstances that are probably different than a lot of people might go through. But there is something of the human experience that touches us and allows us to go on a journey where we understand one another better, just for having gone on the journey. So I'm really grateful for that as a creator, to be able to do that.
Great, thanks. So the next question for you guys is, which scene in your book made you pause and think critically about how to present the content to young adult readers? And how did you arrive at your final choice? Can we start with Margie?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, well, I think specifically the end of my book, like I always knew it was going to end that way. I'm not sure how much I should say to give away the ending, but I wanted my character to feel everything she was feeling, but I also wanted there to be a lot of hope at the end. And so I think that was by far the hardest part to write for me, was those final few chapters, and really showing like what that kind of situation feels like, while also like doing it in a respectful way as well.
Amber, how about you? What do you think?
For me, kind of like Margie, the end of my book, it was a tough one, because I wanted it to be uplifting, but also true and honest. And it was felt impossible to do. I think I rewrote it like 20 times, the last like 20 pages. But other than that, I think that the idea of having a story that my editor has said that she doesn't think it's a quiet story. And I think I agree with that, but it's not much happening other than a road trip and like two people understanding each other. And so to make that filled with like energy and vastness, it was the stories. And so it was the stories that I was deciding to add from, excuse me, my aunt, and then from the hoodoo perspective. So it was the end and then the stories that I added in.
Cool. So what is one thing you hope readers of your book might take away with them after reading? Angeline?
Hi. What I would hope that readers would take away, I hope it sparks a curiosity to learn and read more Indigenous stories. It's really important to select books about Indigenous characters that are written by Indigenous people from those communities. Representation is really important, and I feel that I was able to tell a layered and nuanced, truthful story about my community. And I feel like you can do that only when you love your community and you're willing to shine a harsh light at times, but also making sure that people know about the joy and beauty. And that's not to say that every person from writing about their community gets it right, but it's that there seems to be more consideration to how will my community react? How does this story reflect my community in an honest way? And I think that's something that has to be written from inside.
Thank you. Faridah, I'd like to hear what you think.
I really want people to kind of take away the fact that there are, like, Blackness isn't a monolith. We all come from different backgrounds, different types of families. And again, like what Angeline said, you know, that there's so much nuance in the way you can like represent a community, and I really want people to understand that we just come in different kind of like shapes and sizes, and just like the way we deal with pain and the way we deal with history is so different. And I also want people to understand like that we aren't perfect and we don't have to be. And that's just kind of what I really want people to take away, that we should view people through an honest human lens.
Margie?
I think I want people to take away that it's really okay to feel whatever you're feeling, and that emotions don't exist inside this little box where you can only feel one thing at a time. And it's okay to feel the range of what you're feeling and not like bottle that in.
Cool, thanks. How about you, Amber?
I'm just echoing, I just really want people to see that there are many ways to tell a story, specifically if you're a marginalized person, specifically if you're Black. And I also really, really wanted this idea of, for me, because my family has such an interesting background, that marginalized people have a lot in common. And when we have Sani and Moth, who are from different backgrounds, but they're both marginalized in their community, they have a lot that they can talk about. And I just wanted to share that on the page as well. So I hope people understand that there are a lot of different stories and that we all can understand each other if we're listening to each other's stories.
And Cory, what's your takeaway? You're muted.
Thank you. I think I'm in a way going to echo what's already been said. When I first started writing, I wasn't sure if anyone was going to want to hear a story that really came from me. I wasn't very confident about that. I didn't feel like that I had anything. I wasn't from a big city, and I didn't have some great story that I felt like could come from me and speak from my heart. And I then read Winter's Bone by Daniel Waddell, and I saw Ree Dolly, this courageous Ozark girl who was different. She wasn't like everyone else, and it resonated with me. And I thought, if people will read a story about Ree, maybe somebody would want to read a story that comes from my heart too, and where I come from. And so I started writing, and what went into What Beauty There Is was really deeply personal in ways Jack and David's story are my story. And if there's anything that I wish a reader might feel, one thing that I hope they might feel is that they also have a story, whatever it might be, and that they have pride and feel encouraged that someone out there will want to read it. And so I think sharing our stories is what it's all about.
Very true, thank you. So how would you like a fan of your book to express their love to you? Would it be email, social media, letter? What are you thinking? What do you think, Amber?
Oh.
Put you on the spot here.
I have gotten, the best mail I've gotten are poems. I love when people write poems, like, and specifically the book is called Me, Moth, and I was hoping that kids would start putting their own name in, like me, whoever you are, like that's kind of like this declaration. And I remember like a month ago, I got a poem with a student who did that, and they put their name in, and I was ecstatic because I was like, I hope that's what people do. They see that like you can declare who you are, and that was great. So poetry, I love when I get poetry.
Anybody else want to jump in on this one?
Faridah has the best fan art for Ace of Spades, and I'm jealous, and I want fan art about Donis and Jamie and Lily and Granny June, and fan art about the elders that are in my story.
That's so awesome. So, what was one of your favorite books that you read as a young adult? Cory, what do you think?
Oh, there are quite a few, but the one that comes probably to my mind first is Speak by Laurie Hals Anderson. Speak was a pivotal book for me. It really was a book that taught me that I could say things that weren't being said, that I could put into words things that I might be afraid to say otherwise, and that I could write them down and that maybe it would make a difference. Laurie's book made a difference for me because I'd gone through the same thing and I had never had the ability to talk about it. And so she gave me strength through a story.
Wow. Faridah?
For me, it's probably anything by David Levithan. I was reading his books throughout high school, and he was the first time I saw like a queer author, you know, or a queer book in a bookshop, and I was just so astounded that it almost felt like a secret of mine, you know, having to read something that I felt like no one else knew existed. I was like, I feel these things he's writing, and I didn't know that you could put it down into a book and like have it be expressed directly. I just really, really appreciated seeing queer literature when I was younger.
Cool. How about you, Margie?
Well, when I was a teen, that was before YA really took off. That was before Twilight happened. So I was into the like classic vampires, like Christopher Pike and L.J. Smith, the old school reads, but yes.
That's funny. Amber, this one's for you. Who do you think needs to read your book and why?
Oh, okay. I think everyone should read the book, right? I think that the assumption that specific books are for specific people, or the whole essence of the fact there haven't been many marginalized books, is that people won't read them if they're not marginalized. And that's completely untrue. So I think that the book is for everyone. I think that specifically, I want Black girls to discover this book. Like, I want them to see Moth in their history that they might not have known. Yeah, so like specifically Black girls, but I think the book is for everyone, just like everyone's book here is for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Angeline, how do you feel about who should read your book and why?
I'm in my 50s and I read young adult extensively. So I'm a believer in whatever you want to read, go ahead and read. Certainly when I wrote the book, I had in mind Indigenous teens who maybe had never seen themselves in a story. And I wanted to be very responsible about that. And then of course I have people who swear that the elders in my story are based on their grandparent, and that's always an honor when people see familiarity in a character. That's something from my imagination could connect or resonate with someone from a different tribal community completely. I think it speaks to the universality of our stories.
Thank you. Cory, how do you feel?
In terms of like what I would want someone to
yeah, like, you know, who needs to read your book?
So good.
I'm all good about it.
I would agree that I hope everyone would want to pick up the book and would be able to find something that they loved or felt edified by in reading What Beauty There Is. I agree with Amber. I feel like all of our books are for everyone. And I also read young adult voraciously, and I think there are so many of us who, you know, it's for young people, but it's also for everyone. So I think I mentioned though that I did start writing What Beauty There Is, thinking of me as a 17 or 18-year-old and thinking of that outsider kid who might be struggling. I think hard times are here, and our young people, they know it. They know it as much as anyone. And I think that they're searching for stories that they can see themselves in. And so are we as adults. And we're searching for stories where something real and honest and true is said. So I think that's what I would hope for. That would be, it would be that a reader would find something that felt like, oh, that hit me and it's true.
Thank you. I have a question that says, I've heard many writers say their characters spoke to them and pulled the story a direction other than what was originally intended. So do you have any sort of tug of war, if you will, with any of your characters? If so, how did the story change? I'd like to start with Margie on this one.
I don't know. I think that Victoria, she kind of just like took hold of me very, very quickly. I usually like to sit on an idea for a long time, but in that case, I like I said, I went to New Orleans and then I came right back and I wrote it incredibly fast. And actually, aside from one added chapter, that book has the exact same chapters of the first draft. And this was not the case with my second book, but I think for Victoria, it was just like, she just like took hold of me and like took me through it, and I just followed along. So I didn't really feel like I had to pull back in a different direction that I wanted to go in, because I think was just letting her go at that point.
Faridah, how about you in your writing?
Yeah, I feel like the characters always kind of like force me to write what they want. With Ace of Spades, Chiamaka especially, she really forced me to kind of see her fully. I think I struggled with her the most because I was kind of trying to understand her, and I was trying to also understand myself. And I think with Chiamaka, I didn't really know she was going to be queer until I realized, you know, her aspiring to be in like a heteronormative kind of couple was like part of the whole discussion of how institutions, you know, force us to kind of act in a certain way and feel a certain way. And I just thought it was so like empowering to kind of have some like a character tell me, no, actually, this is who I am.
And Amber?
It was very, very strange. I meditate a lot. So I was meditating after my grandfather had passed away, and literally mid-meditation, this entire story came to me, and it was pretty solid. Like literally I grabbed paper, outlined it in a couple hours, and it didn't change. And so for me, originally, I always knew what the end was going to be, but I was very not like in my heart. I didn't know if I wanted that to be the end, but the character decided it, like, and it couldn't have been any other way. And I love that, like when those characters come to you so quickly. And once again, not the case with my second book, but they come to you so quickly, it feels so authentic, and you just have to trust them because they know what's going on.
Cory?
I love that so much, that you just have to trust them. That's so good, Amber. I feel like Jack and Ava are alive somewhere. It feels to me as if they are in another universe, just living. There's no way that I could have made them up. So in a way, it almost feels like Jack and Ava are my writing conscience. And as I would write, they would keep me in line. I would think, oh, maybe we should go off and do this and go down this pathway, and particularly Ava, her voice would speak to me and say, no, Cory, this is the way that we need to go. And as I was writing the last chapters, it was really kind of heart-wrenching for me. And Ava was just this voice of comfort and said, yeah, this is the way. This is the way that the story is going to end, and it's the right way. So the characters really do, they guide the story.
Mhm. Thank you very much. And Angeline, I'd like for you to tackle this question as well.
Well, I first had the idea for Donis when I was 18, and then it percolated for about 2 decades nearly, and before I started writing. I think that what people have said about the character tells you where the story is going. You know, after 10 years of writing different drafts and trying different things, you know, Donis, when I started really paying attention to her and her interests that were different from mine, she took on a life of her own. And but I would have to say there's a secondary character in my story named Stormy, and his storyline was supposed to go in a different direction, but he reminded me so much of former students I've had, and of friends of my son. And I basically, he told me that his story was different, and I really that's probably the most powerful instance that I've had of a character just completely rewriting what I had envisioned for them, because their story was undeniable.
Ooh, thanks. So our final question of the evening is, will or have you begun your next book? Is it a sequel or a standalone book? And will it be for YA? Or are you looking for something different? Angeline, can you start?
Sure, I'm on deadline for book 2. It is not a sequel. However, you will see familiar faces from Firekeeper's Daughter. It is still set in my tribal community. And if Firekeeper's Daughter was Indigenous Nancy Drew meets 21 Jump Street, you know, my second book is Indigenous Lara Croft, except the main character is raiding museums for ancestral remains and sacred items to bring them back home. And one of her heists goes very badly.
Faridah?
Yes, I'm working on something else. I just finished the first draft, but I was on deadline and it was awful. And it's not a sequel, but it's another YA mystery set in a boarding school, and it's kind of like Mean Girls with murder, if like the unfriendly black hotties from Mean Girls were like the main characters.
Cool, thank you. How about you, Margie?
Yeah, my next book is a standalone, and it's called Cruel Illusions, and it still has, you know, it's contemporary, but it's more fantasy leaning. Still has vampires in it, and stage magicians who moonlight as vampire hunters, and I'm very excited about it.
Cool. Amber?
Yes, my second book is another YA novel in verse called We're Also Good at Smiling, and it investigates clinical depression through the lens of a haunted garden. And I also have an adult poetry collection coming out.
Nice. And Cory, how about you?
Yes, I am also working on book 2. It will be a young adult standalone. So it is not connected to the What Beauty There Is world. It is about a young girl growing up off the grid in the wilds of Wyoming, a murder that takes place, and the secrets of a small town.
Well, I was speaking for everybody, I think, on this call. We can't wait, and can you hurry? Because we're just so excited to read what you have next coming out. I just want to, on behalf of YALSA, Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy lives to be a part of this evening with us. And I really think that celebrating the finalists and the winner is something that we all look forward to. I think that we're all looking forward to your next writing. We just can't wait. We just, my committee's texting me and they go, can you tell them to hurry? Can you tell them to hurry? So please, please hurry. We can't wait to read your stuff. And we wish you all the best. Congratulations again. And we hope you have a wonderful evening. And thanks again so much for taking time. We appreciate it very much.